Hello, all Rambling Canuck, back for another Enterprise review. Today will be reviewing Star Trek Enterprise the Seventh, and with me, as always, Vance Major. How are we doing?
I am great, and I can hear the enthusiasm in your voice, man. I almost got to beat you with a stick to calm you down.
Oh yeah. Well, I don't know. The episode, I'll give my quick synopsis. It was all right, but I have a few minor issues. But they've been my issues with Enterprise all the way from the beginning. So yeah.
I was gonna say your problem with the show has been series oriented, not necessarily episode oriented. So, yeah.
Yeah, there's a few glaring things that stick out to me, but yeah.
So,
Go ahead.
first off, what did you think of the ending? On was he guilty? Was he not guilty? What was he? Was he not? Like, what did you think? Did you think he was guilty the whole time? What did you think? Did you trust him?
No, not one damn minute.
Why? You didn't buy it? You didn't buy it hook, line,
No,
and sinker? No? Not
no.
even, no.
I had thought that they were gonna go the route that it was some special military op, and that she doesn't remember it because they drugged her or something. But I mean, they basically did. They did a mind wipe.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, that's in itself a problem I have
Mm-hmm.
because that's Romulan, not Vulcan, you morons. Anyway,
Mm-hmm.
I've said since I started reviewing this, the Vulcans in this series are the TNG Romulans.
Yep.
Because that was a completely Romulan storyline right there.
Mm-hmm.
It was not a Vulcan storyline.
Very Romulan-esque, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
The thing, first off, this episode has, like you said, or like we've talked about in the past, like the problem of the episode is just magnified by the problems of the series. It's a kind of a generic episode with a generic problem and a generic bad guy. It's just kind of a plug and play. We've seen this type of an episode before. We've seen this type of a villain before. We've seen this type of a problem. It wasn't really anything new or interesting or exciting. It wasn't super fun.
And my other problem with this episode is, okay, let's go right to the beginning. Okay? All she needs is a pilot and a shuttlecraft. Okay, fine. Vulcans go above his head, get the Admiral to order it. All right, fine. I'm with you so far. Okay, this is where they lose me. Now the captain's going. Not only is the captain going, but he's not briefing his first officer before leaving.
Yeah.
Let's go to TNG. When Picard leaves, Riker knows. Riker doesn't advertise that he knows.
Right.
But Riker and Picard have had that sit down, and Riker has a good idea where Picard's gone.
Right. It created a false sense of tension where really there was none. And don't get me wrong, I thought it was a funny moment where, the Vulcan captain comes up, thinks Trip is Archer, and, kind of tells that joke of the soccer or whatever, Yeah. I mean, it was funny, but again, it was drama for, needless. I would rather have seen Trip actually succeed at being a captain, where he spends time with the crew, kind of excels at making some of the decisions that need to be made.
Yeah, I would have preferred him sitting there going, Captain Archer isn't available at this moment, but I'm his first officer. I'm in charge right now. What can I do for you?
Well, I mean, I'm talking about just like at the lunch,
Yeah,
like
but
with
even
Reed and the
yeah,
doctor.
with Reed
For
and
him,
then with the doctor, yeah, he's not making any decisions. Well, we can wait for the captain to come back. I'm just
yeah,
enjoying the fancy new chair. You know,
yeah.
that's it's
For
oh,
for me, this would have been the perfect moment to have him step up
yeah.
and actually make some decisions, and kind of shine in that regard. It would have been the perfect opportunity to have him do that. Um, and ultimately, it was a storyline that went nowhere. And with to Paul, I really didn't like that because it was just, oh well, she had an emotional breakdown before. Let's put her back in a situation where this is brought back up again. No, they would have sent some other Vulcan there to do it, even if it was an inconvenience. Like, just because of this could potentially, uh,
Yeah,
this could,
re-traumatize,
yeah,
bring back that stuff.
compromise. Yeah, she could
Yeah,
be compromised. So logically, it wasn't really. It didn't make
her
any
job to
sense.
do.
Yeah, I don't buy that. It was just, again, everything just seemed
And again,
convenient.
it seemed more of a Romulan-esque storyline, not a Vulcan-esque storyline. Which
Well,
this series so far has had a very big problem with doing.
yeah,
The Romulans, the Vulcans in this series, they had the hidden, the hidden listening post. They had the all that was Romulans in TNG,
well,
not the Vulcans.
I did like the callback to Pajem, where she
Yeah,
went back to, I did like that, because again, like, callbacks, when they are used, like, I feel like they are appropriate, when they do them right. So it is referring back to itself, and I like that. But yeah, I didn't like. I'm still kind of confused by, like, what exactly happened, and it just it I didn't buy her. Like, whenever she's being emotional but pretending not to be emotional, like, she always comes across as emotional anyway. So when
yeah.
she's trying not to be, but she is, it's just, it always comes across as fake, and I don't like that. Like, I don't really care for her as an actress. She gets
She's
better
kind
in
of the most emotional Vulcan I've ever seen.
well, and she gets better in seasons 3 and 4, but up to this point, it's just like you're obviously put on there to be the sexual
Yeah.
Spock. And you're not very good. Now I've seen her play in other things, and I'm like, you're a very good actress, but for playing this part, you're not very good.
No. And right now, my major issue, like I said, is again, we get a Vulcan centric episode that is more Romulan than it is Vulcan. And it's like, make up your bloody mind who they are. Are they Vulcans or are they Romulans?
Well, the whole thing of the Vulcans as a species, they really painted themselves into a corner when they made them the way they did, instead of actually making them full Vulcans. And that's something that they will paint. They will get themselves out of that corner eventually. But sadly, you do sit through most of the series sitting them, seeing them this way. And it's not it. For those of us who do kind of look at things through a critic's eye, it's not enjoyable. I know there are some people out there who enjoy that, because they see, oh no, it's progression. No, it's something they shouldn't have put there to begin with, and they wrote themselves out of it. But yeah, for episodes like this, it's kind of hard to sit through.
And the other thing that annoyed me and stuck in my claw was the flashbacks she had did not match the end game. So the end game was that she went through a ritual and it was, of her consent and they had no choice, they had to do it. Well, every flashback she's got, it's like she's in a detention center and they're holding her down and this so the flashback doesn't match the payoff.
Yeah, no, like I said, it's an episode that's full of fake tension. The whole thing is like that. Now, I did like the fact that she went to Archer and she was like, "Look, I need someone that I can trust on this, and I need you to have my back." I enjoyed that, and I did enjoy the fact that, um, I did like the fact that Archer, once he understood what was going on, was kind of silent to Trip on it, because it showed the amount of trust that he was willing to go, because T'Pol did trust him. So I did appreciate that. I'd rather that have been between like maybe Reed and him, because it still would have shown the same amount of trust. I wouldn't have done it to the person you left in charge of the ship.
Yeah,
I'd have been,
that was my story issue.
yeah,
Is because you're going to tell your first officer,
yeah,
or the person you're leaving in charge of your ship.
Yeah, I would have had I would have had the same conversation between like maybe him and Reed, and then when you get to the end of the thing, say, Trip, you've got this, right? And him be like, yeah, go ahead and handle your business, and then just have that nod to where
Yeah.
you assume that they've had that conversation, but you never actually say it,
Yeah.
because you always assume that they have that type of relationship where they don't need to talk, but they have, where this kind of felt a little bit off, and
Yeah, because the impression you get out of this is that Archer doesn't trust Trip.
right.
Right? This is a big trust episode.
Yeah.
T'Pol trusts Archer. Archer trusts T'Pol, but Archer doesn't trust Trip enough to go, look, I can't get into too deep a detail, but I have to be on this mission.
Yeah, here's where we're at.
This is what we're going here. We're picking a guy up and we're coming here. That's all you need to know. But if you have the call, I have to go do this. Then, and you don't even have that conversation on screen, but you've got a hint that they have had that conversation. Otherwise, you're basically saying, no, I don't trust Trip enough that he's not going to blab his gums off when I leave the ship.
Well, you make him look really incompetent and inferior when, you have Archer that doesn't trust him, but he trusts T'Pol more, which to me feels very off-putting, because it's supposed to be a triad. So you have him kind of get shunned by Archer, then you have him be very indecisive with Reed and the Doctor in the mess hall, or the captain's, whatever, and then you have him lie to the Vulcan and say, "Oh, I'm Captain Archer." So I mean, you have Trip that's acting very out of character. To me, it's like why do I want to see this story about Trip when you could have told a very competent tale of Trip?
Well, and not only that, but if you think about this in universe, right? Archer's been built up as the guy who does not trust the Vulcans.
Right.
Yes, T'Pol has an exception to that rule. However, you're now saying by this episode that he trusts T'Pol more than he trusts Trip.
Right.
Which doesn't go with the character. Yes, T'Pol has earned her stripes to some degree. However, she shouldn't be above Trip.
Right.
So to me, that's off. The fact, because yes, Picard went on special missions and whatever, but Riker would have a good idea. Riker may not know every I and have every T crossed, but he's got a pretty damn good idea where his captain's going when he's off when Picard leaves.
Well, and that's the thing, like he, to not be able to report where your captain's at, if he does die, like Trip's very much, in the right to be like, you're the one reporting, like where is he at? If he did die, it's your ass on the line. Like you let your captain leave, So it is one of those things where, you have everybody kind of acting out of character when a slight rewrite, would have made it that much better. I like this. This feels very much like an episode that, it needs to be script polished one more time. And it would have made it that much better. It's not a bad. It's not a bad episode.
No,
it's just, again, like we said last week, like let me ask you this: what was last week's episode? Do you remember? Right offhand, like you got 3 seconds. 3, 2, 1. Yeah, and it's gonna be the same way next week. Like, I mean, like what like, and that's most of Enterprise's episodes. is what are they? And you're gonna be like, I don't generic Star Trek episodes. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you know, and that,
Vulcan's acting Romulan, and Archer and T'Pol needed another bonding session.
yeah, I mean, you can name things you don't like about Enterprise, but you can't name individual episodes. I mean, you know, from certain seasons.
And here's the other thing that really drives me nuts. They have time for like 4 flashback scenes. We don't see, you know, what's the weapons officer? Reed. They don't have a scene of him going to actually do what he's been making a big deal that he's going to be doing, which is the torpedo thing. They set it up perfect for the captain to be in trouble because the engines are offline. They're realigning the torpedoes. They set that whole thing up so you're expecting the payoff at the end to be they need to get that Enterprise in a hurry moving. No. It was all set up, no payoff. Right? Because normally when you set it up that your ship is, you know, going to be down or losing a system, you need that system by the end of the episode.
yeah, it was an episode full of flashbacks and nothing happened.
Yeah. But we're at the 16-point mark here. So what we're going to do is I'm going to give this over to you. You give it the final grade. I'll give my final grade. We'll get out of here.
Oh shit! I'd say honestly, this is probably about I'd say probably about a 2 because it's pretty forgettable, and that's the thing I've got against it.
Yeah, I'm going to go 4. But that's just because I'm still on, you know, Discovery flashbacks. So I'll give it a 4 and be nice. But other than that, like I said, paint by numbers, not all that thrilling. A lot of the stuff they built up, they didn't pay off. And I really, really hate that they're making the Vulcans Romulan. It drives me nuts. But with that said, I want to thank you all. Thank Vance for showing up and being here today. Thank you very much, sir.
Oh, absolutely, man. Always a pleasure. We'll see you next time, man.
Yeah, and to everyone else, thank you, and take her easy, folks.